Hey you guys, inside number 4. There's so much in this week to get through, so I'm sorry if these videos are a little longer. I try and keep them under 8 minutes and they're going longer than that, and I'm just apologise, but there's just so much good stuff. I could talk to you about this week's reading for hours, which would probably bore you all senseless, but it's information I love. But anyway, let's look at this point, because this one has a lot of meaning to me, and just it helped me a lot at a time that I needed it. So, let's look at Lot. Now, remember, Lot left with his Uncle Abraham. We call him Father Abraham. Lot got to call him Uncle Abraham. So, this is after, remember, we're sort of skipping around chronologically. So, after they had split, when they didn't want to argue, they split, and Lot went, and we're going to read that in 13:12. It says, Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain and pitched his tent towards Sodom. Now, the cities of the plain, meaning that he was out of the city, but he pitched his tent looking at the city. So that's there. Now, how much time passes? We don't exactly know, because there's no little lovely footnotes in the Book of Mormon that gives us a timeline. But time passed. Sodom gets raided and a bunch of stuff gets taken, including Lot. Why? Because in verse 12 of chapter 14, and they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. So we know what went on in Sodom, and we'll get that in a few lessons, Sodom and Gomorrah. We know that it was bad. But watching inappropriate things is asking for trouble. It will tear you, it will bring you in, it will draw you in. Because how long did it take for Lot to sit and watch Sodom every day outside his front door as he watched it? How long before he was living in the city? How long? Because for each of us it'll be different, but it drew him in, right? So it took a short time, really, if you think about it, for Lot to go from looking at Sodom to being in Sodom. We need to be extremely vigilant to what we watch and absorb. Slowly it will seep in. Satan knows your weak places. Sodom looked very inviting, and little by little Lot was drawn in. Be watchful of where you pitch your tent, because Satan paints sin in virtue's colours. Got that? Satan paints sin with virtue's colours. So what looks virtuous, what looks good? Because I was talking to my mum about this the other day, and she said, oh, I can't imagine looking at Sodom. It would have looked disgusting. It would have been awful, because we all know what went on there. And I said, no, it wouldn't. It would have looked inviting. It would have looked like that, when they advertise on a hot day, that big, tall glass of beer with the droplets dripping down the side, and if you had drunk before because you'd been watching out your tent door, you've been drawn in, it's very tempting. It looks amazing. It looks like it's going to taste great. The first time I tasted beer, I threw up. I was like, that's disgusting. Doesn't mean I didn't go on to drink other alcoholic drinks, so don't go there either. But, it looked so good. And that's what Satan does. He paints those things that are bad for us to make them look so glossy and pretty, and he paints them with virtue's colours. So when he's painting these things to try and tempt you in, like he did with Sodom and Lot, to try and draw him in, and many others that got drawn in, it was a lush valley. It was beautiful. It had trees and rivers that would have been clear. It would have been an oasis in a desert. It would have been the party place where everyone was just happy and, free love. Let's go for it. Let's get drunk, because why not? It's a Friday afternoon. And it draws you in. And for anyone that's lived that life or seen that life in its real colours, it is so not pretty. It is an ugly, ugly place to be. It really is. So, be very watchful where you pitch your tent. Now, another quick story, even though it'll probably take us over time again. when I was young married, we have our current temple president, who was our young married Sunday school teacher, because there was that many young marrieds in the ward. We all kind of got married at the same time. Pretty cool, though. This is my second husband. But anyway, not the one I have now. Although he was a good guy too. Just didn't work out. Anyway, beside the point, and story for another day. We had a casino wanting to open in our city. Now, we're a smaller city. We're only, at that point, we're around 200,000 to 300,000. So kind of small. And there was a casino in Auckland, which I had been to, and just to check it out, because, you know, you want to know sometimes, you've got to know these things. But we had lobbied here for it not to open here. We didn't want it here. We didn't think it was appropriate for our community. We didn't think that it would be good for our area. So we all lobbied against it quite adamantly. Council passed it through anyway. Local government said yes, sure, and gave them a permit, and they built. They were then offering jobs. Now, a lot of us were students or looking for a job. And there were jobs in, like, not in the casino, but like in the hotel part. You know, so what's so wrong with like going in early in the morning and helping to clean up and then going to do some schoolwork? Great, that pays the bills. What's wrong with that? So we posed this question to Brother Roberts, as he was at the time. He's now President Roberts because he's temple president. But he had been our bishop. He had been our stake president. This is a guy that we had known, still know, for a long time. We respect his opinion. He's incredibly smart, very spiritual, and we respect him. You know, those kind of people that you can just ask stuff. So we asked him, and the only answer he gave was, working like that is pitching your tent towards Sodom. And it was like, that was the end of the conversation. We all got it. Because how long before you're drawn in? You might be working in there to just change beds, but how long before you're drawn into that casino? How long before you start drinking while you gamble? And that leads to disaster. So that's the point. That's a personal story. That's why it means a lot to me, this particular thing. And I've just called this one, and Lot pitched his tent. So be careful where you put your house and what you're looking at. Because today we don't have so much control over what our houses are angled at. I live in a terrible neighborhood. But in this house, in my house, I can control what we view. I can say to my nephews who are gaming, that's not appropriate. Or to someone who's watching something on YouTube, can you not watch that in our house? And if you want to have a cigarette while you're visiting me, you need to go out of the property. And that's my choice, because I do own this. My husband and I, we do own this, and those are our choices here. So we can be careful what we absorb and we take in. But we really need to also watch, what are we watching that is harmful to us? Right? M. Russell Ballard, President Ballard again, he said, another great quote, good man. He said, Lucifer is clever and cunning intelligence. One of the main methods he uses against us is his ability to lie and deceive to convince us that evil is good and good is evil. Satan and his minions have their lures all around us, hoping that we will falter and take his flies so he can reel us in with counterfeit means. And I think that sums it up very well. And that, just be careful, because it might look super appealing. And if you're a hungry fish and that's the only fly blobbing in the water and it looks too good to be true, as my grandfather taught me, then it probably is. Don't take the bait. Be careful. So I'll leave that one with you, and we will move on to the last one, because that is pretty cool too. And we will sum it up there. So I will see you in insight number 5.